how to find a buildable lot?
Um, Work with an experienced realtor. Keep your eyes on the multiple list. It depends on where you want to live, for one.
So what
If
is the yeah, so what means buildable to a builder? Like, is it like there is a stream that you wouldn't build, or is in Bethesda there are lots of like quarter acre lot. And then some of them are not, buildable because of the size. It's only restricted to build in that little square that you wouldn't want to tear them down and rebuild the small house, right?
so, you know, there's no, it's unfortunate here. I really wish I could give you easy answers to your questions because they're really good questions. But having done this for so long, um, I'd almost say I'm a little gun shy. Um, Very often a client will come and say, "Oh my gosh, I just saw this lot come on the market. It is in Rockville, it is in Bethesda, it's in Potomac. The only one $100,000 for. What do you think?" And my first thought is put your Nikes on and run fast. Nobody is going to sell a lot below market, that much below market, unless they know that there are issues with the lot, including perhaps not even buildable. I've looked at multiple lots in the Rockville area that are on the market, have been on the market for a long time, and the same and different buyers keep bringing them. They're just not buildable. And what makes a lot not buildable? If there's no public water and sewer to a lot, then you have to have well and septic. And there are requirements that the septic field needs a minimum of 10,000 square feet. It needs to be far enough away, a stream buff. If there's a stream, there needs to be a buffer between that septic and the stream. Same thing with construction. The well needs to be at least 100 feet away from the septic field. And if there's a stream running through the middle of it, maybe you can get those two in there, possibly, but then you don't have any room for your house. Um, Steep slopes are challenging to build on and will add hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of building a home. As I said, it may be a small lot, so there's no well and septic, but you don't have public water right in front of your property, in which case you need to extend the water and sewer, which means adding $200,000 to the cost of the home. Um, as you've alluded, at least Montgomery County, pretty much all counties, you're only going to be able to build a certain amount of lot coverage, meaning if you've got a 6,000 square foot lot, you can only cover maybe around 2,000 square feet of that lot with your house. And if you want a 6,000 square foot house, it's just not going to work. So the best thing to do when you identify a lot is bring that lot to somebody, a reputable builder, perhaps an engineer and ask them to evaluate that lot for buildability, constructability, and cost. A builder is going to look at it a little bit differently than an engineer. Engineer is going to look at lot coverage, what we call the build box. He'll provide a box within the lot that says you have to fit your house within this box. A builder is going to go out and look at topography, is going to look to see if there are any constraints like very low utility lines, potentially rock, things like that. Just going back to well and septic, unless the septic has been approved in the last 20, 25 years by the health department, chances are good you're going to have to do what's called re-perk that lot. And the health department they've tightened up their requirements since prior to 2000. So even if you find a house that you're going to tear down on an existing septic that was built in the 70s or the 80s, they're still going to make you re-perk that, and you can only re-perk during certain periods of time during the year. So if you buy that, you are taking a risk if you do not know that there's an improved perk, or you can assure yourself that it will perk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very helpful because I remember that there was one time that I was very excited to find those almost an acre lot and then go to Howard. I said, look, this is a beautiful buildable lot because they already have a little house on it. And then Howard just replied my email said, hey, we have already learned research on, we have already do 3 years research and then trying to design and make it buildable, but it's actually we couldn't find a solution. So it's not buildable to us right now. So it's because
Yeah.
remember, Howard, that was because the storm, what is it called? Storm management was on the back.
Stormwater management. Yep.
Right. And then we only have such a little, small land that we could build, and then it's highly risk that is running a stream running there. So there is just not making sense to knock that old house down and then build almost the same size or even smaller new house because nobody will, like buy there for a
Right.
much higher price.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
Let me just add on that same subject matter because my take is spot on where Howard is. All those experiences of you don't know what you don't know when it comes to the land and whether or not it's buildable. But in the world of financing, once upon a time, and this is showing my age, how long I've been in it, I used to have a statement to customers when I would have a budget for the house itself for the build and then a separate budget for the site development or land development component. And somebody would come to me and say, well, we just bought this piece of property. We really don't know what we can do with it, but the agent said, don't worry, it's buildable. And I used to say, you know what? To a degree, that's a true statement. Almost every lot is buildable. It's just a matter of how much money you have to throw at it to make it
Yep.
buildable. And at the end of the day, as Howard said, it might end up being a tiny house. So to do that research, especially from the lending perspective, we, have some insurance policies in place, if you will, that help protect our consumer to make sure that they're not getting into something that they can't get out of. I was buying a piece of property many, many years ago that I wanted to build a model home on and have my design center. And I put it under contract, and it took me $24,000 in engineering to find out that I could not build on that property and do what I wanted to with that property, which was to make it a design center and essentially almost a commercial piece of property. So therefore, it cost me $24,000 to find out that it wasn't a good value for me. And I look back at it today and say, you know what, that's still, rather than having had purchased that piece of property, it was probably $24,000 well spent.
yeah. So
That's
after
funny you say
working,
that because I joke that I've got several college degrees paid for by all the money spent making the mistakes that have taught me what I know today. You know, I, you spend those mistakes are mistakes and they're painful at the time. But as Tom said, he learned a lot from it. It probably helped him, and clients will benefit from the
our mistake.
educations that we've spent good money learning. Tom's 100% right. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
I also experienced that, a client come to me and then said they would like to sell the lot. And actually it was a beautiful lot. And then in Potomac that you only can build every 2 acres, those zoning. However, that was subdivided by the original owner because they own 4 point something acres and then they subdivided to a lot and they're trying to sell it. However, somehow because of some reason that the subdivided lot is only 1.98 acres. So because of point 2 acres that that lot worth at the time for 700,000 couldn't build. So the owner the owner like was trying to sell it, but when I learned that, I was like, we couldn't sell it because if we just post it at how much we are going to post it? We couldn't post it for 2 acres because it's not 2 acres lot.
right.
And then if you post it as it was, then it's not buildable. So what we did is that we got through the owner that redo the subdivision. It was cost a lot of time and the money as
Yeah.
well to just to do that, point 2 acres in order for them to, meet the regulation on that. So it's all kind of things. So it's very important to find a buildable lot. And then unfortunately that, if clients comes to me, I always trying to verify if this lot is buildable as possible as I could to go to Harvard, to go to the county, to research the history of this lot and then exactly the shape and then the square footage of the lot as well.
So go ahead, Tom.
Let me just say that, especially because a lot of times people come to me first and they want to know what they qualify for, and we try and, put the pieces of the puzzle together from the land to the development. Maybe they own a piece of property, maybe they're looking for a piece of property, and then the house. And as we talked about earlier, the house itself, it does have a lot of variable factors, square footage, specs, quality of work, and those type of things, and sometimes even are hard to quantify. We could have a full hours discussion on definition of what is quality. Everybody's definition of quality is different, and what you're going to have to pay for it is different. But when it comes down to where it starts, I think we had a conversation. What is one of the most valuable tools that we can give people, and that is to work with somebody that understands this process, because it starts with the land. A good deal, a good financial and emotional process of a good building experience really starts with the property and knowing what you can do on that property. And that is actually the most unknown variable. You can price out the sticks and the bricks of a house. Once you figure out what you want your elevation to look like, and you get a set of plans, you can put that plan out for bid for as many builders as you have the stomach to work with or meet with, and to go through that process. But the land, even when you get into the land, you might not know exactly what you can do.
You guys hear me?
The process. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Tom,
Until
I
you get into
couldn't
the
hear you.
process. Could you
Okay.
still hear you?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So
Yep.
yeah, so it really starts with the land, and then there's undeveloped land. There's tear down and rebuilds, and all of the infield lots, acreage, waterfront. It goes on and on, but it really does start with the land. I think that's where people need to be not only educated as much as possible, but partner with somebody that understands, knows what they're doing.